Chapter 40-20. The demons were indeed cruel and bloodthirsty. But they were also straightforward and cute. Mu Yan patted Night Spirit's shoulder lightly, indicating for her to calm down. She said casually, "If I win 100,000 mabe, I'll give you half." What? Night Spirit's eyes widened as she gulped. Half of 100,000 mabe, that was 50,000 mabe. If she had 50,000 mabe, you're serious. Mu Yan smiled. So, can you shut up and watch quietly? Night Spirit wiped her mouth and obediently stopped talking. However, his eyes were shining with excitement. Pfft. A mocking sneer came from the front. A weakling with thin arms and legs like you wants to win 100,000 mabe. Don't make me laugh to death. Ha ha ha. Mu Yan looked up and saw that the one who spoke was a muscular man with a donkey's face and a horse's mouth. Logically speaking, those who could participate in the selection were all young talents of the demon race. But this person's appearance, in the eyes of humans, was no different from a middle-aged uncle. Mu Yan thought of her little Uncle Master's peerless elegance, then looked at the muscular man in front of her, as well as the grotesque appearance of the people in the team. She couldn't help but want to cover her face. How blind was that demon princess? After having little Uncle Master as her fiancé, she could actually accept choosing a husband from these crooked melons. Seeing Mu Yan look over, the donkey-faced demon immediately raised his hands and made a clenching motion. The muscles on his chest and arms immediately bulged out. Oh, it also made him look even more grotesque. What are you looking at? Are you envious of my good figure and looks? Stop dreaming. Even if a weakling like you trained for 100 years, you won't have it. As he spoke, he scanned him up and down and shook his head pitifully. How pitiful. With your listless appearance, I'm afraid you won't even be able to pass the selection. TSK, but this is good. Otherwise, with your small body, you'll be crushed to death in the competition. With that, he turned around proudly and looked at the tent that was getting closer and closer with a face full of expectation. Mu Yan was left dumbfounded on the spot. She had never thought that she would be looked down upon in terms of strength. But she had never thought that she would be despised for her looks when she was disguised as a man. Could it be that she was really mistaken? Demons had a different sense of beauty from humans. Did the demon princess like this kind of muscular and strong man, and not that kind of elegant young master like junior martial uncle? Mu Yan looked at the ugly yet confident male devils in the team. For the first time, she began to doubt her life. In the tent in the square. You're eliminated. Next. What? I was eliminated. How was this possible? Look at my strong muscles and strong physique. How could I be eliminated? Wait a minute, I refuse to accept this. Did you guys want to monopolize me, so you intentionally eliminated me? I refuse to accept this, I refuse to accept this. Bang! A teacup was smashed to the ground. Inside the tent, there were several enchanting evil women in revealing attire. Their expressions were as disgusting as if they had just eaten a fly. Holy shit! What the hell is this? With that strange appearance of his, I still want to monopolize him, ugh. This old lady wants to vomit. In fact, Mu Yan didn't know that not all demons had this kind of strange appearance. Chapter 40-21. The stronger the innate properties of the cores, the closer they would be to human standards of beauty. Therefore, in the 3 or 4-star main cities, there were many demons who looked similar to humans and were even more handsome than humans. However, none of the low-grade devilish beings in Bloody Flame City were aware of this. They truly felt that they were strong and handsome. Even if they weren't qualified to marry the princess, they could still win the favor of these beautiful evil women and soar to the sky. Thus, everyone who came in was flirtatious and seductive with a confident expression. The evil women who came from the demon imperial city couldn't hold back and almost blew up their tents. The few of them took the tea handed to them by the demon servants behind them and drank a few mouthfuls before they managed to suppress their anger. Then, they fanned themselves with their goose feather fans while complaining. This blood-flame city is indeed worthy of being a primary city. The smell in the air is too unpleasant. I'm afraid I won't be able to stand it for a few more days. This isn't a big deal. Wasn't the most important thing the most unsightly people participating in the election unbearable to look at? What is Sir Tianhe thinking? Why does he have to involve a primary city and secondary city? A bunch of ugly and stupid soldiers and guards, how can they be worthy of our princess? It's fine if you say they're ugly, but why are they still so confident that they think they're the most handsome men in the world? They even want me to have him for myself, bah. One of the evil women, who was dressed more innocently than the others, waved her feather fan and giggled, "Sisters, don't be so harsh. Low-ranked demons have only gained intelligence less than 100 years ago, so it's normal for them to have a one-track mind. They simply think that having strong muscles and releasing more mana means that they're powerful. They don't know that true experts aren't like that at all. But since this is Sir Tianhe's request, we have to carry it out. Maybe this little blood-flame city has some undiscovered pearls, excellent seeds. If that's the case and we find them, then our future benefits." The other evil women revealed longing expressions, but they quickly calmed down. Forget it, what good stuff can there be in this godforsaken place? Just as they were talking, they heard the demon servant's clear voice outside, "Next, come in." The evil women immediately calmed down and sat up straight. They calmly watched as the curtain was lifted, revealing the tall and slender figure of a young man. Hiss dash. Bang! The room was filled with gasps, and the sound of teacups falling to the ground could be heard. After a long while, someone finally spoke, "You, what's your name? Are they natural demons or fallen evils?" The young man looked cold and noble. His voice was slightly hoarse, but it was very pleasant to hear. "My name is Yi Liangqin." He paused for a moment before continuing, "I am a demon raised by heaven." "What? Are you really a demon raised by heaven?" The evil women all sat up straight. The one in the middle said, "Why don't you release a strand of evil energy for me to see?" Mu Yen slightly lowered her eyelids and spread out her slender white palm. The monster core revolved within her body and a mass of demonic qi slowly condensed in her palm. Such a pure devil qi, it really is a devil raised by heaven. Where did you transform? Mu Yen thought for a moment and said, "The Demon Cloud Ridge." Chapter 4022. Tisk, TSK, TSK. The Demon Cloud Ridge is a place with such heterogeneous demonic energy, but it can actually transform into such a tempting product. The two demonesses walk in front of Mu Yen and circle around her. Some of them even reach out their hands, wanting to touch her flawless and handsome face. However, Mu Yan's figure slightly moves, and she avoids it. He, little handsome boy still knows how to be shy. Oh, even with such a frosty appearance, Big Sister is still moved. How about you don't participate in the competition and just go back with Big Sister? Big Sister will take care of you, okay? The corner of Mu Yan's mouth twitches, and she manages to maintain her frosty persona with great difficulty. "Can I pass the screening?" "Pass, pass. If a person of such quality like you can't pass, then all the ugly people in Blood and Flame City can just go die." "Oh, I didn't expect that we would really find such a fine product in this trip to a 5-star main city. Even if this kind of stunner can't become the son-in-law, it's not bad to let the princess raise him as a plaything." Several demonesses gather together and excitedly comment on her, completely not caring whether Mu Yen will hear them or not. But even if we want to give him to the princess, at least his strength can't be too weak, right? If he can't even win the competition in a one-star main city, wouldn't we be laughed at by others when we bring him to the demon imperial city? But look at his thin arms and legs, those boorish fellows outside can beat him up with just one punch. I think we should do this, specially pick a few weak people and put them in the same group as this little demon. Let him win a few matches first, and then I think this method is feasible. Or else we can kill and cripple all the other ugly people overnight, leaving only this little demon. Wouldn't he be the one and only winner? I think this is also good. Mu Yen, is it really good for you to discuss how to help me cheat in front of a contestant like me? Okay, you've passed the screening. Next, work hard to fight in the competition, okay? I know it's not easy, but little handsome boy, you have to at least win one match with your own strength, then we can help you settle the rest. After all, the competition is in the afternoon, and there's still too little time to play tricks now. Therefore, in the first round, he could only try his best to pit this handsome devil against a weaker opponent so that he would have a greater chance of winning. Mayan expressionlessly says, "Isn't it said that strength is the most important thing in choosing a husband for the princess? TSK, that's for those ordinary people. That face of yours is worth 100,000 demon soldiers. Strength and whatnot, those are just fleeting clouds." Mayan endured, but in the end, she still couldn't hold back. I heard that the princess's fiancé has a peerless appearance. You've even heard of this? I've also heard that our future prince consort has a peerless appearance. There's no woman in the world who wouldn't fall head over heels for him. But so what? Who would complain about having too many handsome men? Our princess is so noble and great, how can one son-in-law be enough? Then I'll have to choose a few more husbands to raise by my side. Mu Yen, she almost couldn't keep a straight face. His worldview was about to shatter. She couldn't even react in time when a female demon reached out to grope her face. Ayaya, little handsome boy, don't undervalue yourself. With your appearance, even if you can't compare to the prince consort, you won't be too inferior. I believe that Her Highness the Princess will definitely keep you by her side. Chapter 40-23. Mu Yen staggered out of the tent. Night Spirit hurriedly went up. "Yi Liangqin, how was it? Did you pass the selection?" Mu Yen waved her hand dejectedly and did not say anything. Night Spirit's heart skipped a beat. He failed. Fuck, isn't it normal for him to fail? But why did I fail as well? I'm not convinced. Those evil women must be jealous of my valiance. The evil man who was in front of Mu Yen cursed angrily. I want to see who will participate in the final competition. If they are uglier than me, then it must be a conspiracy. Another 2 hours passed. The short demon who announced the announcement with the hammer yesterday stood on the magic crystal platform again. The giant hammer slammed into the air, making a loud bang. The noisy square suddenly quieted down. The groom selection begins now. 10 people in a group will fight on the magic crystal platform. The last one will advance to the next round. Now, those whose names are announced, stand up within 10 breaths or you will be automatically eliminated. Do you hear me? I'm not convinced. With my looks, I can't be eliminated. I'm a grade 8 demonic weapon and I'm not bad looking either. Why can't I participate in the competition? As soon as the short demon finished speaking, a huge commotion broke out below. Bang! The hammer hit the air fiercely, this time imbued with demonic power. The banging sounds were like muffled thunder exploding in everyone's ears, instantly silencing the clamor. The short demon sneered, "The judges from Demon Imperial City will be here soon. If you're not convinced, why don't you tell them yourself?" While they were talking, several evil women with slender waists and protruding buttocks in revealing clothes leisurely walked to the specially prepared seats. Many of the male demons present could not help but swallow their saliva when they saw that someone wanted to speak. The evil woman sitting in the middle narrowed her eyes and released her aura. Puff! A demonic cultivator with a lower cultivation spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted. Demon Lord. They are all demon lords. On the square, the male demons who were expressing their dissatisfaction with indignation just a moment ago immediately fell silent out of fear. The short demon then said loudly, "First group, Du Lu, Late Peng Mo Fei. Yi Liangqin." Night Spirit's eyes widened as he looked at the person beside him. "You passed the selection." Mu Yen slowly exhales and nods. Night Spirit asked, "Then why did you have that expression earlier on?" Mu Yen revealed an indescribable expression. In the end, she didn't say anything. She patted her shoulder and jumped onto the magic crystal platform. Fuck, how is this possible? When the horse-faced man saw this, he immediately exploded. "I didn't get selected, but this newbie passed the selection. Why? Damn it, I knew it a long time ago." There was indeed a conspiracy. Night Spirit glanced at him and could not help but roll his eyes. As an evil woman, her sense of beauty was different from these men. In her eyes, Yap Liangqin, who was disguised as a man, might not be handsome, but his face was absolutely flawless. How could it not look better than this donkey face? Hee, so what if you use dirty tricks to get the right to participate? The horse-faced man at the side was still gritting his teeth. Look at how weak he is. He can be taken down with a single finger. Even if he goes on stage, he'll only be embarrassing himself. Night Spirit curled his lips. Could he be taken down with a single finger? That would depend on who would be the one to be taken down. Chapter 40-24. Bang! The giant hammer struck the air, creating a loud sound that shook the air and people's eardrums. The short demon shouted at the top of his lungs, "The first match begins now." On the spectator stand, the eyes of several evil women were circling around Mu Yen. "Big Sister Yuing, we've already arranged for the weakest rank 3 MO weapon for little handsome Demon Yi. He won't be completely defeated, right?" Yuing, who was sitting in the middle, frowned and said, "Although this Yi Liangqin has just transformed into a human form not too long ago, and the demonic energy ripples on his body are not obvious, but his demonic energy is pure and clean. He might be able to put up a fight against a third-grade demonic weapon. If she's about to lose, I'll secretly use a demonic aura blade to help her." Before this person could finish his words, a shocking change occurred on the magic crystal platform. The youth they were staring at suddenly took a step forward. Then, the originally clear figure became blurry. His whole body was like a phantom shuttling between the other 9 people. His movements were clearly as if he was taking a leisurely stroll in a courtyard, but his speed was so fast that the demon master's eyes almost couldn't catch him. The evil woman who just said that she would help him didn't even have the chance to finish her words and shut her mouth. He could only watch helplessly as the other figures on the magic crystal platform, apart from the youth, fell one after another. In the end, the youth's slender figure slowly stood in front of the short demon, Maya. A pair of pitch-black peach blossom eyes casually landed on Maya. "Does this count as a win? Or do you want me to kick them off the platform?" Maya could not help but gulp. The giant hammer in his hand trembled slightly. After a long while, he finally found his voice and said with a sharp voice, "The winner of the first group competition is Yi Liangqin." The square of Blood Flame City fell into a strange silence. Even Yuing and the others on the spectator stand fell into a trance and a state of disbelief. Until the youth who was declared the victor slowly walked down the magic crystal platform. The three of them suddenly came back to their senses. Little demon is actually this strong. Did you see that? What kind of speed is that? Even with my eyesight, I couldn't catch it. Do you think we've picked up a treasure? The three of them looked at each other and saw the excitement in each other's eyes. He had looks, strength, pure magic, and was so young. He was clearly a strong contender for the position of the Emperor's son-in-law. The moment Mu Yen stepped down from the fiend crystal platform, Night Spirit pounced over and hugged her. Ha ha ha, Yap Liang Qin, I knew you are powerful. But after hugging for a while, he felt a sharp gaze piercing his back. The moment Night Spirit turned around, she immediately noticed three seductive demonesses staring at her from the platform. His eyes were filled with judgment and ruthlessness, as if he wanted to eliminate the root of the problem. But when he looks at Mayan, his gaze is brimming with excitement, as if he's a rare commodity. Night Spirit shuddered. At this moment, they finally realized that Yap Liangqin was a man, and he was one of the most popular candidates to be the princess's son-in-law. It was as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over him. Oh my God! What if these demon masters found out that Yi Liangqin was a woman? Night Spirit did not dare to imagine the consequences of this. His body trembled uncontrollably. Come on, let's go back. A hand gently patted her shoulder. Startled by her movements, Night Spirit opened her eyes with a frown. It's so noisy in the middle of the night. Can't you let me sleep? When he realized that it was Mu Yen who had woken him up, Night Spirit retracted his impatient expression and asked carefully, Yi Liangqin, what's wrong? Are you worried about the last match tomorrow morning? The competition in Blood Flame City had already been going on for half a month. And Night Spirit's worship and reverence for the girl in front of him had reached the point of prostrating before her. If there were any major changes in Blood Flame City in the past half a month, then Yi Liangqin would definitely be the first to bear the brunt. Chapter 40-26. There was no need to talk about the evil women. Whenever there was a competition related to Yi Liangqin, the evil women in the city would swarm over and surround the entire square. As soon as Yi Liangqin appeared, their screams and shouts could even overturn the barrier of Blood Flame City. Even those male devils who had looked down on thin and weak pretty boys were attracted to them. At this moment, all of them treated Yi Liangqin as their idol. Previously, it was also said that the fiend race adhered to the principle of the strong being respected. As long as one was strong enough, no matter if they were beautiful, ugly, kind, or cruel, they would be respected and respected by the evil men. During this period of time, Yi Liangqin, this young man, had displayed the word strong to the fullest. In each competition, he never took more than 10 breaths to defeat his opponent. The way he defeated his opponent was so fast that not many people could see it clearly. In the end, people weren't worried that he couldn't win. They only hoped that he could fight a little longer so that they could admire him a little longer. Now, everyone in the city, regardless of gender, felt proud to be able to watch Yi Liangqin's competition up close. If someone was lucky enough to stand next to him before the competition, then he or she would be envied by all the evil men. Around the city, many shops had Yi Liangqin's clothes, Yi Liangqin's hairband, Yi Liangqin's shoes. Many inns even waved handfuls of mabe to invite Yi Liangqin to stay for free, but they were all rejected. Even though his fame was at its peak, he still chose to stay in Night Spirit's rundown house. Night Spirit felt that he couldn't see through this girl in front of him. Ordinary people would become famous overnight, and in the face of such false fame and benefits, they would already be floating with excitement. However, the person in front of him seemed to have long been accustomed to this kind of thing. She was calm, neither humble nor arrogant. It was as if everything that was happening in front of her was the most ordinary thing that wasn't worthy of her expression. Then, what would make her change her expression? Was it the things that she had experienced before? Everyone had no doubt that Yi Liangqin was a heaven-raised devil. This was because no fallen evils could possess such pure spiritual qi without any impurities. However, only Night Spirit knew that this girl was definitely not a heaven-raised fiend that was transformed from the demon Cloud Ridge. She had seen with her own eyes that her body was covered in blood, and that she looked like a pure human without any demonic aura. Also, the energy she used to kill the corpse puppet was clearly not magic power. Just as Night Spirit was deep in thought, Mu Yen stood up slowly and opened the windows. The air in Bloodflame City was very smelly. As soon as the window was opened, the smell of blood mixed with the stench of decay assaulted their nostrils. However, Mu Yen did not seem to notice it at all. She only looked at the sky that was covered by the demonic energy and the red mist. Were you a spirit cultivator before? Finally, Night Spirit could not help but ask the question in his heart. The person in front did not speak. Just as Night Spirit thought that she was not going to reply, he heard a low yet melodious voice. My father is a fiend cultivator, or rather, a fiend nurtured by heaven. Night Spirit's eyes widened in disbelief. What did you say? You were born from a demon raised by heaven. How was this possible? Do you know how rare it is for a heaven-raised devil to have offspring? No, wait a minute. Now that you mention it, it makes sense. Chapter 40-27. Night Spirit's eyes lit up as an idea struck him. No wonder you look like a human but not a fallen evil. You even have such pure demonic qi. So, you're the descendant of a heaven-raised fiend. Who's your father then? Does he live in a 4-star or 5-element city? While it was extremely rare for a heaven-raised fiend to give birth to a descendant, it was not impossible. If that was the case, Mu Yan's strength and uniqueness could be explained. The person before him was clearly a fiendish cultivator and a spirit cultivator at the same time. Mu Yan shook her head. I don't know. I've never met my biological father. He abandoned you. Night Spirit had a look of disbelief. Is there something wrong with your father's head? How rare is it for a heaven-raised fiend to give birth to a descendant? That's a gift from the fiend celestial and he abandoned you. Mu Yan curled her lips and did not reply. Trash. He's worse than a human. You should find a scumbag father like him and kill him on behalf of the fiend celestial before snatching away all his treasures and wealth. Mu Yan recalled Ning Yanqin's death. Lowering her gaze slightly, she said, I'll consider it. Suddenly, Night Spirit thought of something and said with a look of realization, You disguised yourself as a man and participated in the princess selection because you wanted to look for your father, right? Mu Yan replied indifferently, I'm not interested in looking for him. However, if I have the chance to meet him, I'll have to ask him in person as well. I understand. You must have accumulated a stomach full of complaints to throw at him for abandoning you like that. That's only human nature. Night Spirit hugged her shoulders and sighed with an understanding expression. If only you were really a man. As long as you marry the princess, no matter who your scumbag father is, you'll be able to crush him and make him regret abandoning you in the past. With the princess and the fiend celestial backing you, you'll be the strongest in the hidden abyss. Hee. Mu Yan, she decided not to tell Night Spirit that she was going to settle scores with the princess on behalf of Little Uncle Master. She did not want to scare this female fiend soldier to death. The orange light of dawn shone through the thick fog and barrier above the hidden abyss, covering the entire city in a layer of golden red light. The sky had not brightened yet and countless devils had already swarmed over, crowding the square until not even a drop of water could trickle through. The short demon jumped onto the magic crystal platform and cleared his throat, which had become hoarse from shouting for the past 2 days. The hammer slammed down heavily. All of you, quiet down. I hereby announce that the last round of the Demon Race's Princess's Marriage Selection, Blood Flames City, will now begin. Let's welcome the 10 contestants. Rank 7 MO Weapon, Sky Dragon. Grade 7 MO Weapon, Wild Cloud. Rank 8 MO Weapon, Peaceful Peace. Rank 8 MO Weapon, Black Wind. The last one, the short demon abruptly raised his voice, completely disregarding the fact that his voice had cracked. We can't tell his level, but he's the undefeatable hero of Blood Flames City. Everyone, tell me his name. As soon as he finished speaking, a tsunami of screams rang out from below. Yap Liang Chen. Yi Liang Chen. Yi Liang Chen. Knight's spirit blended into the crowd, stretching his neck and shouting. When he saw the plain-clothed youth fly onto the magic crystal platform, Knight's spirit's face flushed red from shouting. His ears were filled with crazy shouts. At this moment, Knight's spirit deeply realized. Yi Liang Chen, the girl he had picked up from the Demon Cloud Ridge, was destined to become a legend of Blood Flame City. Chapter 40-28. On the magic crystal platform, Mu Yen slowly pulls out the 7 absolute swords. This was the last battle in the 1-star main city. Soon, she will go to the main city. At that time, she will be one step closer to Di Mingju and the Demon Princess. However, before she can move, a black cloak suddenly flashes in front of her. Immediately after, screams and the sound of heavy objects falling to the ground come from the magic crystal platform. The screaming in the square gradually weakens. Everyone looks at the magic crystal platform in shock. They see that the male demons who were standing separately just now have fallen to the ground one by one. Blood gurgles out from his chest, dyeing the magic crystal platform red. At this time, only Yi Liang Qin and the rank 8 demon soldier He Feng are still standing on the platform. No! On the platform, the short Maya exclaims, He Feng's rank actually rose to the 9th rank in such a short time. If I remember correctly, this is the first ranked 9 demon soldier in our Blood and Flame City to successfully advance. Maya can't help but look at Yu Ying and the other 2 behind him. Clearing his throat, he says, in this way, is there any suspense about the final outcome of this competition? On the magic crystal platform, He Feng slowly licks his bloody nails with his long tongue. A pair of triangular eyes stare straight at Mu Yen, full of brutality and greed. Yi Liang Qin, you didn't expect this, right? I had already advanced to rank 9 demon weapon 10 days ago. In the previous competition, I have been hiding my strength, just to give you a fatal blow at this moment. He Feng licks the blood off his nails, then sneers and approaches Mu Yen step by step. Yi Liang Qin, do you understand now? The fame that you have received these days, the applause that you have heard, it is all given to you by me. Now it is your turn to return it to me. Ha ha ha. While saying that, He Feng wraps his nails with demon chi and fiercely grabs out. However, before his nails can touch Mu Yen, his figure stiffens in place. The arrogance on his face gradually turns into disbelief. The youngster in front of him stands there with his hands behind his back, calm and leisurely. But he doesn't know when, but a transparent sword has been inserted into his chest. Without any deviation, it slashes across the demon nucleus in his body. The slightest deviation to the left would cause the demon core to shatter and he would be dead. The young man's thick and long eyelashes fluttered, and his peach blossom eyes casually fell on his face. What did you just say? Are you going to give me a fatal blow? Black Wind's eyes protruded slightly, and his mouth moved. Finally, he fell down with a thud. The long sword in her chest slowly disintegrated and dissipated, before finally condensing in Mayan's hand. The silence in the square lasted for about 10 breaths of time. Then, Yap Liang Chen. Yi Liang Chen. Yap Liang Chen, I love you. Please look at me. Yap Liang Chen wants me to be your mistress, right? I'm willing to be your slave and magical pet. I'm willing to do anything. Invincible Yap Liang Chen. Blood and Flame Emperor Yap Liang Chen. Who dares to challenge Yi Liang Chen? Amidst the earth-shattering screams, the young man was dressed in a coarse white robe. He held a sword behind his back and calmly walked down the magic crystal platform. Patting Night Spirit's shoulder that was still drooling, he said, "Let's go." Night Spirit's back stiffened. At this moment, she felt countless burning gazes that wanted to kill fall on her. If gazes could kill, she would have been torn apart by these demonesses. Chapter 40-29. Night Spirit smiled bitterly. You got first place. All the demons in Blood Flame City were defeated by you alone. Why aren't you excited at all? Not to mention that there was a reward of 100,000 mabe. If it was her, she would have been so proud that she could fly to the sky. Mu Yan brushed away the wrinkles on her body and murmured in a voice that only Night Spirit could hear, in Baisia's words, a max-level main account, slaughtered a novice village. What's there to be proud of? Night Spirit was the only one who heard it. What did that mean? Were all humans so complicated? Does he like to make people guess what he's talking about? Mu Yan brought Night Spirit back to the tent. Ying and the other two's eyes lit up when they saw her. They couldn't wait to rush over and molest her. In the end, Mu Yan pressed the 7 absolute sword on the table, and the 3 demonesses restrained themselves a little. Strange, ordinary swords can't hurt the demon lord. Little handsome demon, what sword is that? It seems a little dangerous. Mu Yan ignored their questions and said indifferently, 100,000 mabe. Also, when can I go to a 2-star main city? Here, this is 100,000 mabe. Ying threw out a storage bag and winked at her at the same time. You're so annoying. It's just 100,000 mabe. Do you think Big Sister will blame you? As for when you can go to a 2-star main city, it's up to you. Even if you say you want to leave now, Big Sisters can take you away immediately. Mu Yan nodded and took out 50,000 mabe from the storage bag and put it in her storage bracelet. She left the rest to Night Spirit. I'm leaving. Thank you for your care during this period. Night Spirit let out an "aw" and was still in a daze. You're leaving. You're leaving so soon. Don't you want to stay in Blood Flame City for 2 more days? No need. Mu Yan looked at the void spirit ring in her hand. I still have a lot of things to do and a lot of people I want to see. She didn't want to waste a single moment. Night Spirit's heart was filled with disappointment and reluctance. He blurted out, Can I go with you? I can accompany you to find father and do things for you that are inconvenient. Mu Yan was startled. Go with me? Yes. I've never left Blood Flame City in my life, and I've always wanted to see it. Night Spirit was so nervous that he was stuttering. Will I be a burden to you if I go with you? That won't happen. She turned to look at Ying. Can I bring her along? Ying looked at Night Spirit in disdain. Twisting her slender waist, she winked at it. Little handsome devil, this low-level demonic weapon is old and ugly. What's so good about it? If you want to find someone to warm your bed, you might as well find me. Night Spirit, you're the one who's old and ugly. Your whole family is old and ugly. All right, of course it's not a problem to bring someone along. Since it's your request, I'll definitely agree to it. Ying said as she took a step back. He raised his hand, and a blood-colored ring appeared in his palm. As the ring gently danced in the air, the surrounding air began to distort and fluctuate. A blood-colored door of light slowly appeared in front of everyone. 2-star main city, Crimson Star. Little handsome devil, let's go. Don't let me down in the upcoming betrothal selection. Chapter 40-30. Due to unknown reasons, Sogu is suddenly unable to find this site today. Nether Region Imperial City. Have you heard? Recently, the demon race is holding a marriage selection to choose a husband for the princess who is nowhere to be found. What? It can't be. Didn't they say that the demon race and our nether region already had an engagement? Shouldn't the husband of the demon race's princess be our first highness? Sure. You want to die. Don't you know that person is taboo and no one can mention him? In short, the engagement between the demon race and our nether region has long been broken. Even if their princess is looking for a husband, it has nothing to do with us. You are not allowed to say another word, do you hear me? The voice of the maid gradually faded away. They did not notice that in the shadow of the beam, there was a figure in white lazily lying down. Bright red silk covered his face, covering most of his face. Just by looking at his exposed lips, teeth, and figure, one could tell that this was a man with an extremely good appearance. He yawned and slowly floated down from the beam. Casually grabbing the air, a flower in the garden fell into his hand. I thought that something interesting would happen in this nether region. I didn't think that after so long, it would still be so boring. Li Weiran smelled the flower as he thought absent-mindedly, it sounds like the demon race is more interesting. Why don't I go to the demon race for a walk? The demon race's princess. His slender fingers gently twisted, and the beautiful flower turned into powder in his palm. Just as he was about to leave, a call came from afar. Priest untainted, priest untainted. May I ask if you are here? Priest untainted, so you are here. Quick, come with me, the domain lord is looking for you. Li Weiran raised his eyebrows and said in a bored tone, oh, what is it now? The person said joyfully, the domain lord has finally found someone who can exchange life for her highness. Everything is ready and waiting for Lord Priest to take charge. Oh. Someone who can exchange life. Li Weiran's lips slowly curled up. Who in this world could exchange life for Yin Yuani? That old man Yin Wuji wouldn't be stupid, right? That seemed interesting. Then he'd better not go to the devil race first, and take a look at the excitement of the nether realm first. When Fu Yushu heard that Yin Wuji had found the person who could exchange Yin Yuani's life, she quickly put on her clothes and hurried over. Ever since the day they surrounded and killed Luo Yunxiao, she seemed to have completely lost her spirit. Of her two sons, one had become a world-destroying demon from a young age and was destined to be destroyed. The other one was half dead and looked like he had become a cripple. How could Fu Yushu not feel sad and despair? She even suspected that this was her retribution for sacrificing her own son in exchange for benefits. For the past few days, Fu Yushu had been bedridden. Only when he heard the news did he perk up. However, he saw the unconscious young man lying on the bed in the room. Fu Yushu's face paled as she screamed uncontrollably, how could it be him? How did he come back? Limitless, limitless. Is he here to take my life? He must be here to take your life, right? Shut up. Yin Wuji barked, open your eyes wide and take a good look. This is an ordinary spirit cultivator, not Luo Yunxiao's unfilial son. How could he not be? Fu Yushu screamed hysterically, look at that face, look at that face. Who else in the world could have the same face? He Xiao, he's back to take our lives. Wuji, quickly kill him and throw him out, throw him out. Chapter 40-31. Slap. A fierce slap landed on Fu Yushu's face, flinging her out. Li Weiran bumped into Fu Yushu as soon as he entered. He raised his eyebrows with interest and smiled. Why is it so lively? It's no wonder. Finding someone who can exchange for Her Highness's life, the Domain Lord and Empress should be happy. Yin Wuji took a deep breath. Not looking at Fu Yushu, he forced a smile at Li Weiran. Priest Weiran, you're here. You said before that as long as we find a suitable person, they can change Yi's fate. Please come over and see if this person is suitable. Li Weiran smiled and nodded, slowly walking forward. The red silk covered his eyes, but everything in front of him could be seen clearly. The face of the man on the bed reflected in his mind, and his eyes behind the red silk widened slightly. Luo Yunxiao. Mayin's martial uncle. Wasn't he dead? Why would he appear here? Something was wrong. The aura on his body was completely different. The person lying on the bed had a mixed aura, and his cultivation was only at the hollow immortal realm. There were no energy fluctuations related to the dark Yin holy flame on his body. Could it really not be Luo Yunxiao? But was there such a coincidence in this world? Li Weiran's lips couldn't help but slowly curve up. Interesting, really interesting. Fortunately, he didn't leave the nether region to go to the demon race, otherwise he would have missed this good show. Priest Weiran. Li Weiran returned to his senses and met Yin Wuji's scrutinizing gaze. He smiled slightly. My apologies, I just felt that he looked familiar to someone I had seen before. I forgot myself for a moment and made a fool of myself in front of the Domain Lord. This person. Pausing, he continued slowly, he can indeed exchange for Her Highness's life. Yin Wuji let out a long sigh, looking at the unconscious man on the bed. His eyes flashed with excitement and fear. This person was fished out of the river of forgetfulness. When he first saw his appearance, Yin Wuji also turned pale with fright. There were indeed many people who looked the same in this world. But Luo Yunxiao's face seemed to be born from the heavens and earth. How could there be a second one in this world? Yin Wuji's first reaction was to kill him, to immediately grind his bones to dust. Let this nightmare that had existed for hundreds of years disappear forever. But soon, he discovered something different. This person did not have the dark Yin sacred flame in his body, nor did he have the world extermination half-soul. His cultivation level was only at the pseudo-immortal realm. The spirit root in his body had also become extremely heterogeneous. Isn't this Luo Yunxiao? In other words, even that unfilial son of Luo Yunxiao was no longer a threat to him. When he realized this, Yin Wuji almost wanted to howl to the heavens. He suddenly remembered that not every host of the Red Dust Ambush would die. There were also some hosts that managed to survive the process of the world-destroying half-soul being extracted. Their bodies and souls were not completely torn apart, and they ultimately survived. However, this kind of life was even more painful than death. It was not an exaggeration to say that they were struggling at death's door. Before these hosts were possessed by the world-destroying half-soul, they were usually heaven's pridelings with cultivation talent that far surpassed that of ordinary people. But after experiencing the devastation of the mortal tribulation, even if he survived, he would become a cripple. After he had escaped from the encirclement of Luo Yunxiao that day, Lu Xingyuan had appeared. He had taken the formless cauldron of karma. Yin Yuanyi was stunned, and the panic in his eyes was gradually replaced by excitement. That's right. He's not Luo Yunxiao. He's my vessel. No, it's better if he's Luo Yunxiao. That piece of trash was only qualified to be my stepping stone. Ha 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 ha. Yin Yuanyi laughed as he walked up to Luo Yunxiao, who was in a coma. He was so excited that his body trembled. Hurry, hurry, exchange my life for his immediately. I can't wait to see him wail in pain. Li Weiran let out a mocking laugh. With a wave of his hand, the beautiful flowers outside the windows suddenly withered, as if someone had sucked all the moisture out of them. Almost at the same time, a scream came from the array. Ah! Luo Yunxiao, how did you wake up? What are you doing? Father, mother, save me. Help! Evil creature. Stop right now. Boom! A loud sound shook the entire palace as if it was about to collapse. Li Weiran leaned weakly on the windowsill. This time, he almost flipped out of the window. He barely managed to grab the window frame and looked up excitedly. Chapter 40-34. Due to unknown reasons, Sogu is unable to find this site today. The scene in the hall caught Li Weiran's attention. His eyes widened and his breathing stagnated. The fire he sent out had already dissipated. The swirling dust filled the palace, blurring one's vision. But with Li Weiran's cultivation and eyesight, how could he not see clearly? That man in spotless white robes, fiery red eyes, and flowing silver hair. He had a face that would make any man in the world jealous. As clear as the mountains and rivers, as ethereal as the moon and stars. But at this moment, the mountains and rivers were frozen. The stars and moon were tainted by blood and coldness. He was like an Azura without blood or flesh. He was emotionless, without desire or love, only cold indifference and careless cruelty. His slender white fingers were like a work of art carved from fine jade. With a gentle wave, Yin Yuanyi flew into the air and was nailed to a pillar in the hole. Ah! A shrill scream came out of Yin Yuanyi's mouth, accompanied by splatters of blood. The dust and pebbles that had fallen from the roof all stabbed into Yin Yuanyi's body and face. At this moment, it was impossible to tell whether his face was old or young, because at a glance, it was filled with densely packed bloody holes. It was nauseating. Help! Help! Imperial Father, Imperial Mother, please save me. It hurts, it hurts. Yin Wuji clutched his burning chest and looked at Luo Yunxiao in horror. How did you survive? How did you become so strong? Fu Yushu looked at the wailing Yin Yuanyi with tears in her eyes. Little Xiao, don't do this. Yuanyi is your brother, your biological brother. You can't do this to him. Mother, I beg you, please let him go, and let us go too. Luo Yunxiao found a chair and sat down. She poured herself a cup of tea but didn't drink it. Instead, she held it in her hand and looked at it slowly. Just when Fu Yushu thought he didn't want to talk to her, she heard the man's cold and magnetic voice. Sure. Fu Yushu was delighted and her eyes were filled with excitement. Little Xiao, I know you're the kindest and most obedient. Before she finished her words, Luo Yunxiao continued, only one of you can live. If you want us to let Yin Yuanyi go, you can kill yourselves. Fu Yushu's eyes widened. Yin Wuji cursed loudly, you unfilial son, should have strangled you to death when you were born. Luo Yunxiao frowned slightly and revealed a puzzled expression. Don't you love this son very much? He glanced at Yin Yuanyi. You can sacrifice anyone else's life for him. Why can't you sacrifice yours? I'll kill you. Yin Wuji let out an angry roar. His natal sword was unsheathed, and the netherworld fire leaped up as it screeched and slashed at Luo Yunxiao. However, in the next moment, the sword was intercepted in midair. The tenacious netherworld flame seemed to have met its nemesis as it was completely swallowed. Yin Wuji let out a blood-curdling scream and hurriedly withdrew his hand, wanting to retreat. However, in the next moment, his throat was grabbed by an ice-cold hand, and he fell to the ground. Bang! There was a loud noise, followed by a sharp pain at the back of his head, making Yin Wuji dizzy. His face twisted violently because of the pain. It wasn't until the buzzing sound dissipated that he heard the man's gentle and pleasant but indifferent voice. The ancient books of cultivation in the Netherworld region are all related to flames. However, the Netherworld Holy Flame can restrain all flames in the world. Chapter 40-35. Yin Wuji, you can take a few more moves from Di Mingju, but in front of me, you're worse than a dog. Don't you know this? Yin Wuji's eyes widened, the veins on his forehead bulging. He desperately tried to circulate the divine power in his body. But it was just as Luo Yunxiao said. The Nether Yin's sacred flame was the most supreme flame in the world. His netherworld flame and all the books related to fire that he cultivated, in front of the dark Yin holy flame, did not have the slightest ability to fight back. He couldn't even use it. He glared at Luo Yunxiao, his eyes full of shock and unwillingness. How did you survive? Lu Xingyuan would never allow you to live. You're not Luo Yunxiao, who are you? His long eyelashes slowly drooped. They covered the cold and dark light in his crimson eyes. His hand brushed lightly. Cracking sounds came from Yin Wuji's hands and feet. That was the sound of the bones in his limbs breaking inch by inch. Yin Wuji let out a mournful scream and almost fainted. He was the heir of the Netherworld region from birth. When he came of age, his cultivation had already reached the peak of golden immortal. It could be said that he had never suffered like mortals did in his life. He didn't even know how cruel and terrifying the torture he had inflicted on Luo Yunxiao was. Luo Yunxiao listened to his cries, but there was still no change on her handsome face. She only answered him indifferently, Lu Xingyuan did not allow me to live in this world, but I killed him. No, impossible. How is this possible? Yin Wuji's forehead was covered in cold sweat as he shook his head frantically. Lu Xingyuan was a venerable immortal, a brilliant disciple of Bodhidharma. He also had the formless cauldron. How could you kill him? Suddenly, Yin Wuji's pupils shrank and his screams came to an abrupt end. He looked in horror at Luo Yunxiao's dantian. Extreme fear almost broke his voice. The world-destroying half-soul was not taken out. You fused with it. Luo Yunxiao's lips curved slightly. Father, you guessed right. This was the first time he smiled since his rebirth. But Yin Wuji only felt despair, his body trembling uncontrollably. How was that a human smile? It was clearly a devil, an Azura that had crawled out from the abyss of hell. After that, he stood up, raised his hand, and nailed Yin Wuji to the pillar next to Yin Yuanyi. His deep and cold blood-red eyes looked at Fu Yushu. Fu Yushu let out a short scream and fell to the ground. Then, she quickly knelt on the ground and crawled toward Luo Yunxiao while crying and kowtowing. Little Xiao, it's Dad and Mom's fault, but we're your parents after all. After all, we've raised you for so many years. Please spare us, please spare us. Luo Yunxiao slowly squatted down. Her voice was cold and magnetic. What should I do? Now that I hear you crying and begging, I think of your biased and cruel past, but I don't feel anything in my heart. The crimson-red pupils met Fu Yushu's frightened tearful eyes, and the bottom of his eyes was calm. I didn't come to the Nether Realm for revenge, I didn't want to take back anything. Fu Yushu trembled all over and cried, Little Xiao, since you didn't come for revenge, then please let us go. Let us go, okay? Mom will kowtow to you, kowtow to you. Chapter 40-36. She banged her forehead on the ice-cold bluestone floor. Without the protection of immortal power, a large part of her forehead was soon broken, and blood flowed out. Luo Yunxiao looked down at her with an indifferent expression, as if he was looking at an ant struggling for its life. Fu Yushu looked up at that pair of bloody eyes and felt her heart sink bit by bit. She suddenly gritted her teeth and secretly pinched something in her right palm. She did not show it on her face. As she cried, she knelt in front of Luo Yunxiao and hugged his leg, crying loudly, Xiao, say something. You really can't forgive mother, aw. The dagger dipped in poison had just been stabbed out. Her wrist was clamped by 5 cold fingers. Accompanied by the sound of bones breaking, a piercing pain came from her arm. So painful, let me go, ah. Luo Yunxiao slowly let go of her hand and whispered, I really don't want revenge, but I want to say goodbye to my past self. That weak, useless, lowly Luo Yunxiao, if only she had never existed. If not for that Luo Yunxiao, he would not have lost the Xiaoyao sect. If not for that Luo Yunxiao, he would not have lost everything. So, everything related to that Luo Yunxiao, I will erase it bit by bit. He raised his head and looked at the 3 bloody people nailed to the pillars. His voice was cold and indifferent, if 1 day is not enough, then 1 day. If 1 month is not enough, then 1 month. Before that Luo Yunxiao completely disappears, I will let you live. But this life would be more painful than death. Bang! The door of the palace was smashed open. Region Master, what just happened? Yu Qin and the others had just rushed through the door and saw the scene in the palace. They were all shocked. Region Master. Region Empress. Your Highness. Yu Qin looked at the silver-haired, red-eyed Luo Yunxiao and the dying Yin Wuji. He could not believe his eyes. Luo Yunxiao sat back down on the chair and slowly took a sip of the cold tea. Audacious madman, you dare to hurt the Region Master. Go! Yu Qin had not recovered from the shock. The Nether Realm guards behind him roared and rushed forward. A dark red flame sprang up from the ground and engulfed the guards who were rushing over. These people did not even have the chance to make a sound before they were directly burned to ashes. The flames even spread to the 3 people on the pillars. Immediately, miserable screams rang out. Half of Yin Yuan's feet were burned off. Even Yin Wuji, who was a celestial prime, could not help but cry and beg for mercy. The chaotic hall fell into a strange silence. Everyone's eyes were filled with terror as they looked at the silver-haired, crimson-eyed man. Their legs were trembling, and they wished for nothing more than to flee immediately. Suddenly, there was a thud behind Yu Qin. Chapter 40-37. However, the subordinates who were once loyal to him and flattered him only glanced at him cautiously. They retracted their gazes and continued to respectfully worship their new territory lord. This was the cultivation world. The weak were prey to the strong, and the victor was king. Luo Yunxiao was once weak, so even as a prince, he was repeatedly humiliated and tortured by his own father. No one stood up for him. Now that the situation had reversed, it was Yin Wuji's turn to taste everything that Luo Yunxiao had experienced. Yu Chen's heart was incomparably complicated. From a long time ago, he had favored Luo Yunxiao over Yin Yuan. He had sighed and regretted countless times in his heart. If the First Highness had not been chosen to be the host of the Mortal Plunder, how good would it have been? If the successor of the Nether region was Luo Yunxiao, then their future development would definitely not be any worse than the Polar region. But at this moment, Luo Yunxiao had returned to the Nether region in the most powerful manner. He had made Yin Wuji his prisoner. Even his dark Yin holy flame had broken through the 4th rank, and was only a step away from the 5th rank of legend. But the person in front of him was no longer the indifferent and kind-hearted First Highness from before. How did he crawl back from hell? How did he become like this? No one knew. Yu Qin closed his eyes and finally knelt down slowly. Greetings, new territory lord. Where would the future of the Nether region go from here? Yu Qin and the others paid their respects, but Luo Yunxiao did not have any reaction. At this moment, they did not dare to say anything and carefully retreated after kowtowing a few times. They completely ignored Fu Yushu's cries and Yin Wuji's angry roars. When everyone had left, there was a sudden round of applause in the room. Staying in the Nether region to watch such a good show is really worth it. Luo Yunxiao's gaze finally fell on Li Weiran. Li Weiran walked over and sat beside him. He poured himself a cup of tea in a very familiar manner. As he drank, he said with a smile, "Aren't your methods of torturing people a bit lacking? Why don't you give the 3 of them to me? I guarantee that in less than 2 hours, they will cry for their parents and regret being born into this world." Li Weiran, you. Yin Wuji let out an angry roar. However, before he could finish speaking, he was blocked by a clump of mud. Even Fu Yushu and Yin Wuji were given a lump of mud. As a result, the annoying noises in the hall disappeared. Li Weiran didn't even look at them as he excitedly looked at Luo Yunxiao. "I see that your cultivation is very high now. Why don't we join hands and destroy the polar domain?" Luo Yunxiao's long eyelashes drooped slightly. His entire body seemed to be carved out of ice jade, and he didn't react to anything around him. He did not have the joy of avenging a great hatred. There was no grief, anger, or pain. There was only indifference towards everything in this world. Li Weiran became even more excited as he said, "It's fine if you don't want to work with me on the polar domain. Can you at least tell me what happened during this time? The last time I saw you, you didn't seem to be like this. Mu Yan treasures you so much, seeing you like this, it's impossible for her not to have any reaction, right?" At this point, Li Weiran was a little unhappy. Not to mention Mu Yan and the people of the Xiaoyao sect. Even that little bastard Jun Machin treated Luo Yunxiao better than he did. He sourly thought, isn't it just a face? Chapter 4038. This time, Luo Yunxiao finally had a reaction. He slowly raised his head and met Li Weiran's eyes. Yes, eyes. The moment he raised his head, the red silk covering Li Weiran's face fell, revealing his ice-blue pupils. Before Li Weiran could get angry, he heard Luo Yunxiao's cold but hoarse voice. Jun Mayan is dead. No one in the world would call him Junior Master anymore. There was no Xiaoyao sect in the world. Under the abyss. Oh my god, is this a 2-star main city? Night Spirit couldn't help but exclaim as he looked at the huge ring-shaped tower in front of him and the gorgeous buildings built around it. Mayan didn't have any reaction. This 2-star Red Star City was naturally of a higher level than the 1-star main city, Blood Flame City. At least there wasn't the stench of blood in the air and there was no garbage everywhere. But compared to the beautiful buildings of humans, it was still far from it. Ewing observed Mayan's expression and looked thoughtful. Seeing Mayan looking over, she immediately smiled and said, "Little Devil Marshal, you should rest well in Red Star City for the next 2 days. 3 days later, I will take you to register and draw lots." You must perform well in the next competition. My happiness for the rest of my life is all in your hands. Night Spirit rolled his eyes. These evil women were really thinking of ways to take advantage of their Liangchen all the time. Even their words had to be so ambiguous. Ewing arranged an inn for the two. It was Night Spirit's first time in a 2-star main city and he was extremely excited. He pulled Mayan and said, "Let's go for a walk in the city. Maybe we can meet your scumbag father here." Mayan was about to refuse when she suddenly heard a chirp sound. Then, a furry yellow head popped out. Chirp chirp chirp. Mom. Mom. Huang Huang. Seeing little yellow chick, Mayan's eyes revealed a long-lost smile. She gently touched its soft fur and said softly, "Is Huang Huang okay?" Little yellow chick tilted its head and spat out a bubble, crying out in confusion. "Is Huang Huang okay? Why is Huang Huang okay?" Huang Huang had only taken a nap. He even dreamt that he went to the amusement park with his dad, mom and brother. However, no matter how good the mother in the dream was, it was not as good as the mother in reality. The little chick chirped and rubbed itself against Mu Yen. After rubbing enough, he found himself in a very strange place. He excitedly bit Mayan's sleeve and kept shouting, "Goo goo goo. Mommy, mommy, this place is so strange." Huang Huang wanted to play. Mu Yen had no choice but to bring Night Spirit and Huang Huang into the market. "Yi Liangchen, look. They even sell the devil badger meat. Only 20 mabe, buy. G. Mummy, mummy, that person looks so strange. His head is flat, ha 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 ha." Mu Yen puts her hand to her forehead. Could a man and a chicken make a fuss over nothing? Goo goo goo. Doggy doggy. Huang Huang wanted to sit on a dog. The little chick seemed to have seen something, but it suddenly spread its wings and flew off excitedly. Then, it accurately landed on a magical beast. Huang Huang. Mu Yen is startled by its actions. She doesn't even have the time to catch it. The magical beast that Huang Huang is riding let out a furious roar and suddenly turned its head, opening its bloody mouth. Mu Yan's expression changed and she was about to unsheath the 7 absolute sword. "Little brother, you shouldn't be a resident of this Red Star City, right?" Mu Yan glanced at him and hooked her lips. "Brother Bailey is not a resident of Red Star City, right?" Red Star City was just a 2-star main city, and most of the residents were demon soldiers and demon guards. As for the person in front of him, his cultivation was so high that he couldn't see through him at all. Bailey Weiran said with a smile, "My mother's family originated from Red Star City, so I can be regarded as half a resident of Red Star City. This time, he was here to deliver some things to the clan." "What about you, little brother?" Mu Yan doesn't really want to answer, but she meets the man's gentle and sincere eyes. She braces herself and says, "I'm here to participate in the groom selection." Bailey Weiran's eyes slightly widen. "Brother Yi wants to be the princess son-in-law." Hee, that's right." Bailey Weiran's face shows a meaningful smile. He reaches out and slowly puts his hand on her shoulder, then, "We may become opponents." Chapter 40-41. Deguzi made a gurgling sound from his throat, pawed the ground with his front paws, and showed a blank look. Could it have fallen somewhere? Bailey Weiran frowned slightly. "That's troublesome. There is no Jade Void key for sale in Red Star City, so I can't go to Tianguang Ruins. I wanted to stay in Red Star City for a few more days to watch the Little Brothers competition, but it seems that I can only go back early. De Guzzi shook his head. Bailey Wayran rubbed the top of his head, and his eyes flashed with interest. This is the first time I've encountered a magic nucleus that I can't see through. I'm really looking forward to having a showdown with him in the marriage selection. After returning to the inn, Mu Yen took out the strange key to study. The little chick was tired from playing today. It turned over its belly and slept soundly in its mother's warm embrace. Mu Yen carefully put it on the bed and covered it with its special floral blanket. Only then did she continue to look at the key in her hand. The demonic energy slowly seeped into the key, but there was no response. Mu Yen thought for a moment, then condensed a divine power and carefully poured it in. Swish! There seemed to be a burst of fire in her mind. Then, Mu Yan's body softly fell on the bed. Her soul, however, appeared in a vast and empty space. A familiar, yet strange voice came to her ear. Welcome to Tianguang, first host, you, finally, came. Mu Yan's pupils suddenly contracted. This is Tianguang Ruins. Polar Domain, Medicine King Hall. Han Chujiu was lying on a large purple gold soft bed, frowning and thinking hard, his face very unsightly. It's been more than a month since he could contact his precious disciple. He didn't know how she was now, if she was safe and sound. Di Mingju, that flirtatious big peacock, couldn't be counted on. But he couldn't leave Medicine King Hall. Han Chujiu rolled on the bed and suddenly jumped up. So what if he didn't have Di Mingju? He was the dignified Medicine King, unique in the entire immortal cultivation world. Could it be that he couldn't even find his precious disciple? Han Chujiu rushed to the Tai Su cauldron and took out all the medicines from the storage pouch, piling them into a small hill beside him. This, and this should have a trace effect. Bang! The lid of the great void cauldron exploded and Han Chujiu's face was covered in dust. However, he didn't even bother to wipe it off and continued to try. If this one doesn't work, let's try another one. This should work. Bang! 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 Successive explosions sounded out from inside the Medicine King Hall. From daybreak to nightfall. An earth-shaking loud noise nearly overturned the entire Medicine King Hall. Han Chujiu's head was smashed, and the defensive robe on her body was torn into pieces. However, there was not the slightest hint of annoyance on his face. Instead, he excitedly rushed to the void cauldron. It's done, it's really done, ha ha ha, Han Chujiu is really a genius. Han Chujiu picked up the pill and swallowed it. Doppelganger Mirage Pill. As long as I take this, I can separate a part of my divine soul to find my precious disciple. Don't be afraid, my disciple. No matter where you are, no matter what danger you encounter, I will save you. When the pill entered his abdomen, a pure energy slowly penetrated into his 3 souls and 7 spirits. The curse on Han Chujiu made him step by step towards immaturity and death, and also trapped him in the Medicine King Hall, unable to leave. Chapter 40-42. Even a high-level immortal can only use a doppelganger technique for half a day. And every time it is used, the body and soul will become extremely weak. It will take at least 10 days to half a month to recover. But, doppelganger is different. He used an immortal Dan to separate a small part of his soul and attach it to a high-level instrument. When the time comes, he will ask Elder Chang to take this instrument and leave. He will be able to perceive everything that happens around the instrument and naturally find the whereabouts of his apprentice. Han Chujiu found a piece of jade and attached his doppelganger to it. While he was happily looking at the jade, he saw Elder Chang coming in a hurry. Little Joe, come with me. Brother, you came at the right time. I have something to look for you. Elder Chang anxiously said, Jun Shang's condition has changed. Dr. Liu cannot determine the reason. Come with me to see him. Han Chuzhou was about to nod, but he suddenly thought of something. He coldly snorted and turned his head. Who wants to see that philandering big peacock? This father has cured him. Let him abandon my apprentice and live with that vixen. Bah, I will not do this kind of loss-making business. Elder Chang helplessly said, Little Joe, what do I have to say to make you believe that Miss June is your apprentice? Liar. Han Chuzhou denied without hesitation, how can I not know my apprentice? Brother, don't lie to me. I know you treat that kid Di Mingju as your own son, but I am still your younger brother. If you continue to favor one and discriminate against the other, I will fall out with you. Elder Chang held his forehead and rubbed his temples. He only felt a throbbing pain in his head. Han Chuzhou put his worries about Di Mingju to the back of his head and presented the jade in his hand to Elder Chang. Brother, you see, this is the doppelganger method that I have just studied. After taking this immortal Dan, I can go find my treasured apprentice. What do you mean? Han Chuzhou proudly told him about how he refined the doppelganger Dan. I've seen this pill recipe a long time ago. I don't really remember some of the recipes. I thought I couldn't refine it. But who asked me to be a genius? After trying a few more materials, I succeeded. Even though he's worried about Di Mingju's safety, Elder Chang still stares blankly. Han Chuzhou continued to be excited. With the phantom doppelganger pill, my separated soul can exist for at least 3 months. When the time comes, big brother, take this jade pendant and help me find my disciple. As long as I see my disciple, I will definitely be able to recognize him. Chang Lao wanted to say, isn't this the same as looking for a needle in a haystack? Moreover, Xiao Zhou's disciple is obviously Miss June. Even if he went out to look, how would he be able to find her? But Han Chujia's eyes were full of expectation. She couldn't hide her expectation. Chapter 40-43. Elder Chang's complexion also changed. The two of them looked at each other, then looked at the jade pendant. They couldn't speak for a long time. How could this be? Han Chuzhou gloomily took the jade pendant and anxiously paced around. Why can't the divine soul attach to the jade pendant when it's in Ji's hand? Is there something wrong with the Dan? Elder Chang looked at his anxious and angry appearance. He wanted to comfort him, but he didn't know what to say. He could only gently pat his shoulder. Little Joe, you've done very well, don't be discouraged, I remember. Han Chuzhou suddenly shouted. Chang Lao jumped in fright. A person who can wear a doppelganger magical tool must have pure and vigorous divine power. Otherwise, the divine soul in the magical tool will clash with the wearer's own divine soul and be forced to be sealed. And the purer the divine power of the doppelganger magical tool, the longer the medicinal effect can be maintained. Elder Chang froze. The divine power I can display is very weak, but it's better than nothing. In the polar domain, the one with the purest and most vigorous divine power is naturally Jun Shang. Han Chuzhou's cheeks immediately puffed up, and he angrily said, in the end, you just want me to save that fickle big peacock. Elder Chang stifled a smile. If you want to find someone to take your doppelganger to find your disciple, the best person is none other than Jun Shang. With Jun Shang's pure and vigorous divine power, you may be able to stay outside for 1.5 years. But now that Jun Shang is unconscious, I'm afraid that even if he wanted to help you, he would be powerless. All right. You don't have to beat around the bush to persuade me. I'll go save that fickle big peacock, okay? Inside Spirit Firmament Palace. Xing Lang and the others were anxiously pacing around outside Di Mingju's palace. From time to time, they would look in the direction of Medicine King Hall. Xing Lang, I heard that Di Mingju's condition is recurring, is that true? An anxious voice rang in their ears along with the swift approach of a graceful figure. The person's complexion was slightly pale, her voice was hoarse, and her whole person carried a sense of haggard and fragility. But even this couldn't hide her amazing beauty. When Xing Lang saw the person, he immediately said respectfully, "Miss June, aren't you recuperating? Why are you here?" Yu Yanran's face is filled with anxiety, the rims of her eyes slightly red. "I heard from Dr. Liu that Di Mingju's condition has changed. How could I sit still? I'm really worried about him. I want to go in and see him." The maidservant standing behind Yu Yanran echoed, "After Miss June woke up, her injuries have not improved and her memories have not recovered. But no matter what, she has always been concerned about Lord's safety. Because she misses Lord, she has not been able to sleep at all." This maid was called Purple Jade, a female immortal of the polar domain's Lingxiao Hall. Ever since she found out about Yu Yanran's identity, she felt that she had found a golden thigh. In addition, Yu Yanran was trying to win him over. Therefore, in the past few days, the cub had told Yu Yanran everything it knew, taking care of her in every possible way. It had already regarded itself as Yu Yanran's confidant. Star Wolf has a natural good impression of all the people who are loyal and concerned about Di Mingju. What's more, he's already in awe of Mayan. Hearing these words, he immediately said, "June Shang must be very eager to see you, Miss June. You should now." Before he could finish, he was interrupted by Ying Mei. "No way." Ying Mei's voice was clear and cold, but it was completely irresistible. Elder Chang said that before the Medicine King arrives, no one is allowed to enter. Chapter 40-44. Star Wolf was taken aback. When did Elder Chang say that? Ying Mei's expression didn't change as he lied. When Elder Chang spoke, "You were examining June Shang's condition, so you didn't hear it. But Han Yi and I heard it." Saying that, he faintly looks at Han Yi. The dumbfounded Han Yi receives his wife's warning. What would he dare to say? Of course, he would obediently lie. Yes, Elder Chang said so. Since it was Elder Chang's order, Xing Lang naturally wouldn't go against it. As for defeating armies, apart from that day when he was brought back by Di Mingju, he was more talkative. At other times, he was like an invisible person, cold and indifferent to the point others were practically unable to notice his existence. Yu Yanran furrowed her brows and glanced at Ying Mei. She didn't know if it was just her imagination, but this Ying Mei seemed to always be against her. Did he see through her disguise? No, absolutely impossible. The magnificent quicksand that she refined this time was different from the inferior product that Ling Qingwan had refined previously. It was truly a flawless disguise. Coupled with the amnesia as a cover, there was no way there would be any flaws. But regardless of whether or not he was seen through, it was best not to leave this shadow demon alive. Otherwise, it would become a stumbling block for him. Yu Yanran thought of this in her heart, but did not show it on her face. She coughed lightly and said, "Then I will wait with you here for Elder Chang and the Medicine King to return." This time, Ying Mei didn't say anything. After waiting for a while, Han Chuzhou and Chang Lao arrived. Star Wolf and Han Yi immediately greet him. "Medicine King, quickly go and take a look at June Shang. His current condition is very strange." Han Chuzhou coldly snorted and pushed the door. When he sees Di Mingju on the ice bed, he is also startled. Di Mingju's entire body is flashing with a strange radiance. These rays of light were constantly jumping like flames, sometimes blue, sometimes red, and sometimes pure black. Between Di Mingju's eyebrows, there's a strange rune pattern flashing and flickering, faintly discernible. God-slaying curse. How could this be? Han Chujia's facial expression drastically changed and strode forward. However, before he could get close, he was repelled by a force. Little Nine, are you all right? Han Chujio wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and gritted her teeth. It's okay, it's just two curses of the same level. It can't kill us. Elder Chang said in shock, are you saying that the god-slaying curse in his lordship's body is acting up? Han Chujio nodded her head with a dignified look. Maybe it's because I'm too badly injured this time, or maybe it's because I've entered the land of the cursed god that the God-Slayer curse awakened earlier than expected. What should we do now? Star Wolf said anxiously, Medicine King, quickly save Lord. Han Chujio slowly shook her head, now, I have no other way. But Di Mingju is using his own power to suppress the god-punishing curse, so it's not the end of the road yet. Elder Chang, is there no other way to help Jun Shang? Han Chujio clenched her fists, now, all we can do is wait. With Di Mingju's strength and the power of the god-punishing curse, anyone who rashly gets involved will only die a tragic death. The room was dead silent. Everyone's eyes were focused on the ice bed. As time goes by, the three colors of the flame change faster and faster. And on the forehead of the unconscious Di Mingju, beads of sweat emerged. Star Wolf was burning with anxiety. He subconsciously stretched out his hand to wipe the sweat on Di Mingju's forehead. Chapter 40-45. The next moment, however, his whole body flies out and heavily hits a pillar. Star Wolf Darren. Ziyu exclaims, covering his mouth. Yu Yenran's complexion is also somewhat pale. Just now, she almost reached out to wipe Di Mingju's sweat, to show her intimacy with him. Now that she sees Star Wolf's end, her heart bursts with joy. Han Yi looks at Star Wolf, who can't get up for a long time, his face revealing worry. Han Chujio glances at him, faintly saying, don't worry, he won't die. He was just affected by the collision of energy. At most, he'll have to recuperate for 10 days to half a month. Everyone's attention is briefly focused on Star Wolf. So much so that almost no one notices. On the ring finger of Di Mingju's originally empty left hand, the shadow of a ring gradually appears. The shadow flashes with silver light, turning into little stars that enter Di Mingju's body. Then it disappears without a trace. Defeating Armies, who is guarding on the side, suddenly stands up straight, his brows tightly wrinkled. That energy fluctuation just now is very familiar. It seems to be exactly the same as the one he sensed in the forbidden area a few years ago. Retreat. Han Chujio's shout interrupts Defeating Armies' thoughts. The several people instinctively retreat at full speed. Yu Yanran is so scared that she directly retreats outside the room, quickly setting up the protective shield around her body. Then, they hear a loud noise coming from inside the room. Boom! The main hall shakes, gravel and dust fall down. Jun Shang. Han Chujio waves her hand, and the broken stones of the collapsed pillars fly away, revealing the still intact ice bed, and the person lying on it. Han Chujio breathes a long sigh of relief, the tension in her eyes relaxing. But on the surface, she snorts, "Humph, this guy is lucky." Her voice hasn't fallen, when Di Mingju slowly opens his eyes and sits up on the ice bed. Jun Shang, you're finally awake, that's great. Elder Chang and the others cry tears of joy. They've experienced too much during this time. Defeating armies mysteriously disappeared, Di Mingju was seriously injured, and Miss June's life and death are unknown. The Jiyu dynasty was even on the verge of collapse. Now that Jun Shang has woken up, everything is finally over. Di Mingju presses his forehead, and looks at the several people with red and swollen eyes. He frowns and says, "What happened? Why do you all look like that?" Elder Chang choked with sobs. "My lord, you've been unconscious ever since you returned from the floating island. We were really worried about you." Di Mingju stares blankly. A floating island. Why would Ben Jun go there? Elder Chang stares blankly. Han Yi and the other three also stare blankly. "Jun Shang, don't you remember? You sensed that Miss June was in danger, so you rushed to the floating island to save her despite your severe injuries." Di Mingju frowns even tighter. "What are you talking about? And who is Miss June?" Elder Chang's eyes widened and he was speechless for a long time. In the end, it was Defeating Armies who walked forward and slowly said, "Jun Shang, when does your memory stop?" Di Mingju's eyes darken. "Ben Jun should have been in seclusion in the forbidden area, but I woke up in this palace." He looked at Defeating Armies, his voice slightly hoarse. "You mean, I lost my memory?" Han Yi and the other two simply can't believe their ears. Jun Shang lost his memory. How could this be? On the contrary, Defeating Armies' expression is calm. There's even a feeling that this is the case in his heart. 7 years ago, Di Mingju went into seclusion in the Jiyu domain. In total, he came back from the Yanwu continent 3 times. The first time he came back, he was seriously injured, and that strange rune faintly appeared on his forehead. Chapter 40-46. The second time he comes back, the injuries on his body are mostly healed, and the aura of energy lingering around his body is very similar to the starlight that didn't enter Di Mingju's body today. The third and final time he returned, the entire polar domain exploded. Defeating Armies didn't have the time to see anything clearly before he was blasted away. However, he still had a vague impression of the terrifying power that seemed to want to obliterate his divine soul. Every time he thought of it, he would tremble. And today, he once again felt this power. Therefore, whether it was 7 years ago or today, someone is erasing the memories in Di Mingju's mind again and again. Using the god-slaying curse. There was also that strange rune engraved on Di Mingju's forehead. And the memories that were erased were just that coincidentally, only the memories after he met Mu Yen were erased. The more Defeating Armies thought about it, the more frightened he became. His palm, which was holding the hilt of his sword, unconsciously began to sweat. He couldn't understand who would cast such a strange curse on Jun Shang's body. And who would have the ability to place a curse on Jun Shang's body? The truth might be crueler and more terrifying than he had imagined. Little 9, quickly take a look for Jun Shang. Han Chujiu grabbed Di Mingju's hand and checked it with her spiritual sense. Then, she curled her lips and threw away Di Mingju's hand. Well, there is no danger to his life, and his cultivation has improved. TSK, the scourge lives on for 1,000 years. What about Jun Shang's memories? Han Chujiu rolled her eyes. It's good to be alive. Isn't it just losing some memories? What's the big deal? Di Mingju's expression is very calm. He slowly stood up from the sickbed. The dust on his clothes rustled and fell, but the red bloodstains on the white cloth were exceptionally conspicuous. But he doesn't even spare them a glance. He only indifferently looks towards Han Yi and the others. Tell me everything that happened in the past few years when I lost my memory. Don't leave anything out. Han Yi and the others shiver from head to toe, promptly kneeling down. Even Elder Chang's breathing quickened slightly. This was the polar domain sovereign they were familiar with. But it was so unfamiliar. Because 2 years ago, Deming-ju, who hadn't yet met June Mayan, was like this. Aloof, cold, aloof, and aloof, he was the supreme ruler of the world. However, there were almost no emotions or desires, and there was no worldly aura. And at this very moment, because he had lost his memories, this Jun Shang had returned. Xinglang used to worship this kind of Jun Shang the most. But at this very moment, looking at Di Mingju's eyes that don't have a trace of warmth, bursts of sourness and pain emerge in her heart. He doesn't like this kind of Jun Shang. Even if he was powerful, even if he was noble, even if he was a supreme being, he was still so lonely. Xinglang suddenly raised his head and said loudly, Jun Shang, let me speak. About you and Miss June. His lecture went on for more than 2 hours. During this time, Di Mingju has been quietly listening, his expression cold and indifferent, without the slightest ripple in his eyes. It was as if Star Wolf was talking about something that had nothing to do with him. Yu Yanran, who was standing at the door, clenched her fists tightly, her body trembling uncontrollably. Even the heavens were helping her. She's also afraid that when Di Mingju wakes up, he would discover the difference between her and Mayan and expose her. But unexpectedly, Di Mingju actually lost his memory. Xinglang kowtows towards Di Mingju, his voice hoarse, Jun Shang, I'm done. Chapter 40-47. Di Mingju's cold gaze sweeps over the 5 of them, and he carelessly says, You mean, Ben Jun has a beloved woman, and has decided to make her the future mistress of the polar domain? Yes. Di Mingju, where is the person? Bring her here for Ben Jun to see. Yu Yanran suppresses the excitement in her heart. She takes a step forward, her voice choking with emotion, Di Mingju, I am Jun Mayan. I don't know why we both lost our memories, but what I remember is that Di Mingju is the man I love the most, and my fiancé. Ice blue eyes slowly look at Yu Yanran, the person you're talking about is her. Xinglang nods. A few days ago, we found Miss June unconscious outside the enchantment. She has lost her memory, just like Jun Shang. Di Mingju's appearance is unparalleled in beauty, but very few people have discovered it. Because in this world, there are only a few people who dare to look straight into his eyes, to clearly see his features. But at this time, Yu Yanran raises her courage and looks back. Her pair of watery eyes contain a little tenderness, making people intoxicated. Di Mingju slowly hooks up his lips and smiles. Yu Yanran only sees a blur in front of her, her heart thumping wildly, almost jumping out of her throat. How can there be such a noble and perfect man in this world? And such a man will belong to her, Yu Yanran. However, the next moment, the man's low, magnetic, and cold voice rings in everyone's ears. Ben Jun lost his memory, he's not stupid. This kind of thing is worthy to be Ben Jun's fiancé. Do you think Ben Jun is blind? Yu Yanran's body suddenly stiffens, all the tender feelings froze on her face. She opens her mouth slightly, her lips trembling, almost unable to believe her ears. Elder Chang, Xinglang, and Han Yi also turn pale with fright. They have never seen Jun Shang treat Miss June with this kind of attitude. Could it be that after losing his memory, Jun Shang has also completely forgotten his feelings for Miss June? Ha 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 ha, well said. Di Mingju, I find you, this fickle peacock, more pleasing to the eye. Only Han Chuzhou laughs heartily, completely ignoring this strange atmosphere and Yu Yanran's crumbling appearance. At least you have a good eye. I thought you really treated this trash as a treasure. Han Chuzhou glanced at Yu Yanran in disgust. This kind of thing is not even worthy to carry the shoes of my precious disciple. If you abandon my disciple for her, then I'll poison you to death with a single pill. Before he could finish speaking, he met Di Mingju's gaze. His heart skipped a beat. The words that reached his lips were silenced. TSK. After this kid Di Mingju lost his memories, he wasn't fun at all. Just like before, he held it like an ice cube. Di Mingju says indifferently, Ben Jun and your disciple also have a relationship. Han Chujiu rolled her eyes and waved her hand. You like my disciple, but my disciple doesn't like you, a big peacock. You shamelessly chased after me for a year, and you still want me to marry my disciple to you. Hee, but I will not agree to it. Stop dreaming. Then, without waiting for Di Mingju to react, Han Chujiu instantly disappeared. He had escaped without a trace. Elder Chang, Jun Shang, you, Di Mingju waves his hand. You go out first, Ben Jun wants to be alone. Yes. Although they are still very worried about Di Mingju's condition, Jun Shang's order is an imperial edict, it absolutely cannot be violated. The five of them bowed and retreated. Chapter 40-48. Yu Yan Ren reluctantly suppresses the horror and panic in her heart, forcing herself to look at Di Mingju's eyes. The moment she opens her mouth, tears are already falling from her eyes. Di Mingju, do you really not remember me? Don't remember what we once went through? Before she could finish speaking, Di Ming raises his hand. Yu Yan Ran and Ziyu are directly sent out of the hall, and the door closes with a bang. Di Mingju waves his hand casually, but the air waves are enormous. Yu Yan Ran and Ziyu are sent flying dozens of meters away, until they hit a stone pillar. Only then do they stop with a muffled grunt. The violent shock makes their faces pale, and blood overflows from the corners of their mouths. Xing Lang and Han Yi, who have just walked out of the room, are simply stunned. Jun Shang not only used ugly words to humiliate Miss Jun. Now he even hit her. How can this be? Miss Jun is the little Gongzi's biological mother, the person that Jun Shang used to love dearly. Xing Lang anxiously wants to step forward. Jun Shang has lost his memory now, forgetting his feelings for Miss Jun. But his memory will recover one day. When that time comes, he will definitely regret it. He can't let Miss Jun bear a grudge against Jun Shang. However, as soon as Xing Lang takes a step forward, he is stopped by a sword. Ingmei coldly says, I advise you not to do anything unnecessary. Xing Lang angrily says, Ingmei, what are you doing? Can't you see that Jun Shang has injured Miss Jun? Ingmei sneers, saying meaningfully, do you really believe that Jun Shang would injure Miss Jun? Saying that, he looks at Han Yi, what about you? Do you believe it too? Han Yi stares blankly, then immediately remembers something. His complexion changes. Back then in the Yanwu continent, Jun Shang was going to kill the woman of destiny, but as soon as he saw Miss Jun, he wanted to marry her. He also lost his memory. But it's a completely different reaction. What does this mean? Xing Lang's pupils suddenly contract, you're saying that she's fake. That's why Jun Shang has no reaction to her. That's why Yao Wang resolutely refuses to admit that this is his disciple. Xing Lang grits his teeth and says, this slut dares to pretend to be Miss Jun, I'm going to kill him. Don't act rashly. Elder Chang's eyes flickered as he looked deeply at Yu Yanran. Keep her alive. I want to see what tricks she has up her sleeves and what her true face will be in the end. Han Yi, send someone to spy on her in secret. You must keep a close eye on her. Han Yi nods. Inside the palace, only Di Mingju is left. Divine power circulated in his body and was slowly released. In the blink of an eye, the ruined palace was restored to its original state. If someone were to witness this scene, they would definitely be dumbstruck. Even ordinary immortals could restore such a damaged palace to its original state. However, he was using the illusory mimicry and shadow shifting technique. He used magic to create an almost identical palace. But Di Mingju is not. He had directly reversed the flow of time within the range of this palace. It brought him back to several hours ago. At that time, the palace was naturally in good condition. It sounded simple, but only if one grasped the power of the law of time. Otherwise, it would have been impossible. Di Mingju glances at his hand, his eyes revealing a trace of doubt. He had become stronger. Before, he could also control the law of time, but he couldn't do it so easily. His gaze falls on the ring finger of his left hand. There's a ring there that can't be seen with the naked eye. That's the Void Spirit Ring. Chapter 40-49. Di Mingju slowly turns the ring, his brows slightly wrinkled, puzzled. The Void Spirit Ring was a special magical tool that could share one's soul and life with others. Why would he tie his life to someone else's? My lord, you have a woman you love her like your own life. Her name is June Mayan. Star Wolf's words rang in his ears, causing a ripple to surface in his heart. However, that hypocritical unpretentious face immediately appeared in her mind. Di Mingju frowns. Impossible. He only felt disgust for this woman, but he did not like her. He would never fall in love with June Mayan. His god power surged and touched the Void Spirit Ring. But just as he was about to take it off, a strange reluctance and anger welled up in his heart. It made him stop moving. There seemed to be a voice in his head telling him over and over again, this ring cannot be taken off. Forget it, if you don't want to pick it, then don't pick it. Di Mingju knits his brows, brushes his sleeves and gets up. Clang! A jade pendant fell to the ground. This is Demon Core Blood Jade. Di Mingju's pupils shrink. Why would he bring a monster core blood jade with him? Moreover, the devil chi contained in it was extremely pure. Only those born into nobility would possess it. The demon core blood jade was specially used by the demon clan to identify their bones and blood. Because it was extremely difficult for a heaven-raised demon to give birth, and the process of having a child was usually complicated and ever-changing, it was impossible to bring the child to their side in time to raise them. In order to not let their precious offspring wander outside, the devil race refined a devil core blood jade. Inject the aura of the parents and the child into the blood jade and leave it by the child's side. One day, when the child's body nurtured a demon core, the demon core blood jade would be activated, making it easier for the demon clan to find and reunite with them. But the polar domain and the demon race were irreconcilable enemies. Why would he wear the demon core blood jade that the demon race used to search for their relatives? Di Mingju's brows tightly knit together, only feeling heavy with doubts. It seemed that even though Star Wolf had recounted everything that had happened in the past few years, there were still many things that he had missed out. It would be better to call Elder Chang over tomorrow and interrogate him properly. Di Mingju puts away the monster core blood jade and checks his own storage space. He discovered that there were many things that he was unfamiliar with. Low-level talismans, low-level medicinal pills, colorful jewelry, which he didn't give away. What the hell was all this? Finally, Di Mingju's gaze falls on a jade key. What is this? It looked a little like the jade void key of Tianguang ruins, but it was also different. But the Heavenly Light ruins was within the sphere of influence of the Nether realm. The relationship between the polar domain and the nether realm was even more tense than the demon race. As the ruler of the polar domain, Di Mingju naturally wouldn't go deep into danger and head towards the sphere of influence of the nether realm. With the strength of his consciousness, as long as he entered the Heavenly Light ruins, there was no way the nether realm would not know. If Yin Wuji wanted to kill him in the Tianguang ruins, it would be as easy as flipping his hand. So, this is not the Jade Void Key. What was that? Di Mingju grips the Jade Key and uses his divine sense to probe inside. The next moment, his vision blurred. User Mo Ju, welcome to Tianguang Ruins. A mechanical voice rang in his ears. Under the hidden abyss. Mu Yan didn't expect that the little chick would actually give her the Jade Key of the Shushan continent's Heavenly Light ruins. And in this hidden abyss, where spiritual power and immortal power couldn't be used, the Heavenly Light ruins could actually be entered. Just now, that familiar and stiff voice called her first host. Chapter 40-50. Due to unknown reasons, this site can't be found on Sogu today. Therefore, the voice that calls her first host is Little Ruins. She calls out in a low voice. However, the air is quiet and there's no response. Mu Yan is about to call out again, but a flat voice comes to her ears. Special user Yi Liang Qin, welcome back. Do you want to change your basic information? Mu Yan was stunned. Did you just call me the first host? Do you want to change your basic information? The other party obviously refuses to communicate with her. Mu Yan gently exhales and chooses change. She is now participating in the selection of the demon race's princess son-in-law as Yi Liang Qin. If a female Yi Liang Qin appears in Tianguang ruins, won't she be exposed immediately? Mu Yan thinks over and over again. In the end, she doesn't change her name. Instead, she changes Yi Liang Chen's gender to male and adjusts Yi Liang Chen's appearance to be 70 to 80% similar to her male appearance. Change Yi Liang Chen's gender to male and adjust Yi Liang Chen's appearance. User confirm to update information. Mu Yan, confirm. Information change successful. The next moment, Mu Yan feels her vision blur and her whole body floats as if she has lost her weight. Her consciousness becomes fuzzy, as if she was thrown into a whirlpool, bobbing up and down. In a daze, she hears that familiar yet strange voice again. First host. We have waited for you, for too long. About to restart, bang. Mu Yan feels her body suddenly becomes heavy from floating, and then she is heavily smashed on the cold ground. She rubs her arm that hurts from the fall and climbs up from the ground with a frown. The surrounding noise enters her ears little by little. What she sees is a familiar scene that makes her feel like it's been a lifetime. This is the Reincarnation Square. It's almost the same as Tianguang ruins in the Shushan continent, but it's slightly different. There aren't as many people coming and going on the square as in the Shushan continent, but everyone's cultivation is very high, basically above the peak of Hollow Immortal. And the tower in the middle of the square is towering into the clouds, with a flickering flame pattern in the middle. Mu Yan recognizes that it's the symbol of the Nether Realm. She once heard Han Yi say that whether it's the Shushan continent or the Shushan continent's Tianguang ruins, both are under the control of the Netherworld region. It didn't matter if ordinary polar domain immortals entered. However, these upper echelons of the polar domain's royal family rarely entered the Skylight ruins. This was because there was a certain chance of being discovered by Yin Wuji and ultimately being killed within. Di Mingju absolutely cannot enter Tianguang ruins, otherwise it would be tantamount to seeking his own death. Mu Yan coldly looked at the flame mark, his hands tightly clenched into fists. Nether region, Yin Wuji. One day, she would kill those bastards and avenge little Marshall Uncle and Chi Wen. Taking a deep breath, Mayan pushes down the raging hatred in her heart. The current her was still too weak to contend against the Nether Domain. In the Tianguang ruins, she had to be extremely careful and could not expose her identity. Mu Yan withdrew her gaze and was about to take a stroll in this brand new Tianguang ruins. However, his gaze suddenly froze on one point, and a surprised expression appeared on his face. Not far from the reincarnation square, there stood an unbelievably beautiful little boy. Her hair was as black as ink, her eyebrows were elegant, and her ice-blue eyes were clear and bright. Even if there's an obvious indifference and anger, he was so beautiful that people couldn't take their eyes off him. The moment Mu Yan saw the little boy, she almost mistook him for Xiao Bao. Her breathing almost stopped. But she quickly realized that the little boy wasn't Xiao Bao. But he was also someone she knew. Mo Ju. Why are you here? Chapter 40-51. Yes, Mo Ju. This little boy was the child she met by chance in Tianguang ruins of the Shuzhen continent. At that time, Mu Yan and Xiao Bao were separated, and she couldn't find them. In her excitement, she recognized Mo Ju as Xiao Bao and hugged him. That was how the two met. Mo Ju looked like Xiao Bao, with a pair of icy blue eyes. His personality was also similar to Di Mingju's, so Mu Yan had a good impression of him. But she didn't know when it started, Mo Ju stopped appearing. Later, when Di Mingju assumed the name Mo Ju, and became a tutor in the Starry School, Mu Yan wondered if this Mo Ju was the Mo Ju, because it was too coincidental. But later, Han Yi said that Tianguang ruins belonged to the Nether Domain, dispelling her doubts. Later, many things happened, and Mu Yan gradually forgot about this child. She never thought that she would see him again in Tianguang ruins of the Shuzhen continent. Hearing Mu Yan's voice, the boy suddenly raised his head. A pair of clear eyes that belonged to a child, with a frosty coldness and the pressure of a superior. However, when this indifferent gaze touched Mu Yan's face, it suddenly froze. His heart was pounding, as if it was going to jump out. Di Mingju clutches his heart, his expression stunned. His eyes, however, fell on her face, hot and persistent, full of aggression. Mu Yan was taken aback by this gaze. She crouched down and asked doubtfully, Mo Ju. Are you Mo Ju? Di Mingju looked at her for a long time, then said in a low voice, You know, me. As soon as the words came out, it was a clear and tender child's voice. Di Mingju's face stiffened, almost wanting to overturn Tianguang ruins. Why did he have the body of a child in Tianguang ruins? Mu Yan thought of something and suddenly said, Right, I changed my appearance, so it's normal that you don't know me now. I'm Yi Liangqin, we met in Tianguang ruins of the Shuzhen continent, do you remember? When I participated in flourishing Tianguang, you invested a lot of crystals for me. I haven't had the time to thank you properly. Di Mingju kept a straight face and pursed his lips, not saying anything. I don't know anything, and I can't remember anything. But I don't want to admit it. Mayan has long been accustomed to this little boy's precociousness and indifference, so she doesn't mind his attitude. She just asks, Why are you here? Ben. Why can't I be here? Mayan says, So, you were originally in the Shuzhen continent. At that time, you temporarily went to the Shuzhen continent for something, and later left without saying goodbye. It was also because you returned to the Shuzhen continent that you couldn't contact me, right? Di Mingju, Mu Yan felt that Mo Ju seemed a lot colder and more distant this time. However, the two of them had only met by chance. Furthermore, the other party was a forgetful child. Wasn't it normal for them to drift apart after not seeing each other for a long time? Mu Yan smiled and rubbed his head. Did you come to Tianguang ruins to take care of something? I won't bother you anymore. With that, she turned around and left. Di Mingju still hasn't recovered from the shock of someone actually dares to rub Ben Jun's head. Seeing that Mu Yan is about to leave, a trace of panic suddenly rose in his heart. Almost subconsciously, he reached out and grabbed her hand, pulling her back. You are not allowed to leave. If Di Mingju were to do this action, it would be pulling the person in front of him into his arms. But now he's Moju. A little bean sprout that isn't as tall as Mayan's waist. Chapter 40-52. With a tug, Mu Yan subconsciously pulls her back. Her small body falls over and falls into her arms. She smelled the youth's fresh scent and felt his embrace. Di Mingju's entire body freezes. Be careful. Mayan looks down, only to find that little Moju's face is flushed red, from the skin of her face to the tips of her ears. Why is it so hot? Did he have a fever? Logically speaking, there shouldn't be a fever in Tianguang ruins. Moju. Moju. Before Mayan could finish speaking, she sees the little figure in her arms slowly disappearing. Did they withdraw from the Tianguang ruins? She furrowed her brows slightly, and there was a hint of confusion in her eyes. What happened to Moju? Why is this kid acting so weird when we meet again in the Shushan continent? Polar domain. Di Mingju abruptly sits up on the ice bed. He looks at the jade key in his hand, his expression fluctuating. His heart seemed to still be beating in his chest. He had never felt this way before. For 1,000 years, there had never been anyone who could make his heart beat so fast. She was so eager to have that person, to keep him by her side forever. She recalled the youth's pitch-black and bright eyes, his red and tender lips, and the scent she smelled when she fell into his arms. Di Mingju's ears reddened slightly. He wanted this person. Madly, desperately wanted. Even if he had only seen this person once and only known him for a day. But damn it. In the Tianguang ruins, he was actually a child. Di Mingju's handsome face is almost distorted. He stood up abruptly and was about to use his divine sense to summon Elder Chang. He wanted Elder Chang to think of a way to turn him back into a human in the Tianguang ruins. He also wanted to tell Elder Chang that he had already found the true mistress of the polar domain. That person was not Jun Mayan, but Yap Liangqin. However, just as he was about to release his divine sense, it suddenly froze. Di Mingju suddenly realized. Yap was a man. Therefore, he wanted to marry a man to be the future holy empress of the polar domain. If Elder Chang were to find out, would he die from anger? After bidding farewell to Moju, Mu Yan suddenly felt a little dispirited. His longing for Di Mingju and Xiao Bao has reached its peak. But now that she's trapped in the hidden abyss, she simply can't contact Di Mingju, and has no way of knowing Xiao Bao's situation. Sighing softly, Mayan still strolls around Tianguang ruins. She discovered that there were many differences between this place and Little Tian's Tianguang ruins. The cultivation continent's Tianguang ruins was divided into upper, middle, and lower districts. This side was also divided into 3 zones, but they were called the Nether Zone, the Infernal Zone, and the Limitless Zone. The Netherworld was the largest and most prosperous area, and the people who lived there were basically immortals from the Netherworld region and its affiliated sects and families. The Limitless District was second. There were immortals from the affiliated forces of the polar domain, as well as some spirit cultivators from idol sects and tribes. As the name implied, the people here were basically all demons. In terms of the number of people, the devilish area was definitely the least. However, the demon race had always been tyrannical and unreasonable. They disdained to have anything to do with spirit cultivators. Therefore, even though the population was small, no one in Tianguang ruins dared to provoke the devilish region. The one with the lowest status was the boundless zone. Because the demon race excluded outsiders, only the immortals under the netherworld could enter the netherworld region. Therefore, the remaining people could only stay in the limitless zone. Another difference between the Tianguang ruins here and the cultivation continent was that there was a dueling arena here. Chapter 4053. Everyone only had one chance per month. As long as they paid enough transaction coins, they could issue a challenge to anyone. Because what appeared in Tianguang ruins wasn't a physical body, the battles here didn't look at cultivation level, only consciousness, magical power, and soul strength. Not only would the soul of the loser be heavily injured, they would also have to pay a large sum of ruin crystals to the other party. Challenges could also be rejected, but they would have to pay 100 times the registration fee of ruin crystals as a registration fee. Ruin crystals were the unique currency of Tianguang ruins in the Shushan continent. They could be exchanged with crystals, materials, mabe, and so on. They could only be circulated in Tianguang ruins and couldn't be taken out. However, they could be exchanged for crystals, mabe, or various materials at the shops in the center of the 3rd district. The users of the Limitless district usually didn't have a big background, and they didn't have many ruin crystals. Therefore, they were easily challenged and bullied. Their days in Tianguang ruins naturally weren't easy. Mu Yan strolled around and finally arrived at the demon region. Based on her experience in Blood Flame City and Red Star City, there should be very few demons who could enter Tianguang ruins with jade keys. However, the demon region's reincarnation square was very lively at this moment. Mu Yan couldn't help but go over to take a look. Put down your bet, put down your bet. Let's bet on which high-level demon master will become the princess son-in-law in the end. I bet 10 ruin coins that the final winner will be Lord Yiksha. Lord Yiksha is only a 5th-level demon master. How can he be a match for the 7th-level demon master Lord Poison Dragon? I bet 50 ruin coins that the final winner will be Lord Poison Dragon. Hee, do we demons only look at ranks in battles? If that's the case, there's no need to compete. The final winner will definitely be Lord Bailey Weiran. He's already a peak demon master. Mu Yan raised her eyebrows in surprise. Bailey Weiran, was that the youth she met today? So his magic core had already reached peak demon master level. His strength was at least equivalent to peak Xian immortal. No wonder she couldn't see through him. The surrounding chatter continued to reach her ears. I admit that Lord Weiran is talented, and he's the child of a heaven-raised demon and a human. But he's too young, and he's too gentle and honest. How could he be a match for Yiksha and Poison Dragon who fought their way out of the bloody battlefield? Humph, anyway, I bet that Lord Weiran will win in the end. Only someone like him, with his appearance and family background, is barely worthy of our princess. Do you all think that the Emperor's son-in-law will come from a 4-star main city? What if there's a dark horse? Stop dreaming. It's not that easy to find a dark horse. You should know that heaven-raised demons with powerful innate attributes are all born in the demon ridges around 5 or 4-star main cities. Mayan shakes her head. This demon princess was really interesting. Wasn't it just a groom selection? Why was it like a mortal emperor choosing concubines from the people? The key point was that there were a lot of people who were unwilling to accept the emperor's concubine selection, but these demons, from top to bottom, were all rushing forward fanatically. He didn't even care if he had to share a wife with another man. Mu Yen sighs and looks up at the center of the square. There are 5 light screens here. It's these demon sects that had nothing better to do and wanted to join in the fun. For this groom selection, they had opened 5 betting spots. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.